talk a bit about your role in the film?
So Mildred is a 10, 11-year-old girl. You know, she's very precocious, very, like, wise beyond her years. But she's got kind of this obsession with the mythical Canterbury Panther. And, you know, her dream is to go find it and to win a big old cash prize. And she's supposed to go camping with her mum, but when she gets hurt and needs time in the hospital, her estranged father, who's a washed-up magician, comes and takes her camping.
So, I know you from Evil Dead Rise, so how was this film different from that film?
Well, I was a lot less wrecked. No, well, Evil Dead Rise was very kind of intense in a physical and emotional way. But Bookworm is more of a very sweet, heartwarming film. You know, like it takes you on a journey. I mean, filming it was also very different. Just lovely crew, and in the beautiful Canterbury landscape, it was stunning.
All right, thanks. This is your second film with Ant Timpson. So, how would this differ from Come to Daddy?
It's lighter in content, right? So Come to Daddy is a bit of a genre exercise. It's a movie of twists and turns, and it gets quite violent. This film also has its twists and turns, but it's bloodless. There's no real violence, but the stakes are real. It's a comedy about a father and a daughter out in the wilderness looking for a panther. It's also a movie about two people kind of coming to find the relationship that they never had. It's about a father accepting his role of being a father, ultimately discovering his own vulnerability. There's about a lot of things, but it is, it's similar in that the sense of humor is the same. I think it's cut from a similar cloth. It's the same writer. So a lot of the same sensibilities are sort of interwoven, but it's a movie for everybody. It's for all audiences. It's a real kind of like adventure romp in the wilderness.
So, how was it shooting in New Zealand like 20 years after Lord of the Rings?
Man, it was amazing. Incredible to go back. I had wanted to go back to New Zealand to shoot something for ages. And it had been like 9 years since I'd even been to visit. So when Ant said that he had this idea to make this film, this, father-daughter adventure story in the wilds of New Zealand, I leapt at the chance. Got to bring my family down there. It was just glorious.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, man.
Well, Bookworm is actually very different from the other films you were involved with. So what might inspire you to make like a very family-friendly film?
Look, we wanted to make a wilderness film, Toby and I, and we were inspired by The Edge, the Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin movie, which was directed by Lee Tamahori, who's a great New Zealander. And so we thought, like, how can we use Elijah? It was written for Elijah. How can we use Elijah as a avatar for our deep-seated male insecurities about masculinity and stepping up as parents in a time of crisis, which all stems from like our greatest fear is like just pooping the bed in front of our kids when something horrible was going down. And I could absolutely relate to that because that happened to me on a crazy summer vacation that went horribly wrong. It started off as a PG movie and then turned into an ugly R-rated film very quickly. So I was mining from personal experience throughout the whole project. So yeah, and look, we just wanted to make a light-hearted piece of what I used to call in the 70s when I was a kid. They were just called general entertainment films. They weren't, pandering to kids. They were just very much a film that sat squarely in the middle. Anyone, any age group could just easily relate to it. Universal stories. Just fun characters. And we just came up with a kind of oddball buddy movie set in the wilderness, and just thought, yeah, this has got a few elements that might play quite well.
Okay, so you have to talk a bit about casting Nell Fisher, who I think the only other film I know her from is Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, she's also in a very small New Zealand independent film called North Spur, and she was only 8 years old when she did that. So she's another child star in the making, like Elijah was. And so yeah, we knew she was something special. We went through a big audition process back home, around about 300 kids, and then Nell was obviously one of the brightest, and I was like, yeah, she's got something. Let's do a read with Elijah. So they did a sort of chemistry read together. It just felt like a natural fit. They were very good rapport together. And then I knew she had just done Evil Dead Rise. It hadn't come out or anything, but I knew the director. So I spoke to Lee, who directed that film, and just asked, like, this is going to be a tough shoot. She's in every single frame of the film. Is she going to be up for the task? Because it's a bit of an endurance test for the amount of emotional and physical work you're going to have to put into it. And he just said, look, she's incredible. You'd be an idiot if you didn't hire her. And he just had the highest of praise for her. So I was pretty confident that we had backed a winning horse, not to call her a horse, but she ended up being everything and a hell of a lot more than what we wanted. So I'm just, super proud of Nell. She's obviously on her way to superstardom, and I'm just glad that we were there at the very beginning of it.
So how did it come to be to make Elijah Wood's character an illusionist envious of David Blane?
An illusionist and what?
Envious of David Blane.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's, everyone has to have their nemesis in life. You've got to have that person that's you feel is responsible for every failure in your life, because you have to project every of your inner concerns onto someone else and blame them for everything. So he became that kind of foil for Strawn Wise, until he sort of has a lot of moments of reflection in the film, and now becomes very much a mirror for all of his projection, and sort of exposes it, pushes it back in his face, confronts him with it. It's just a great thing to have this, a child doing that to an adult who should be the one absolutely in control of the scenario and the situation, but he's as desperately lost and needy as she is in so many ways. So they're both, it's in a weird way, it's like a coming of age, a dual coming of age film, that both characters go through a sort of emotional arc and become hopefully better people as a unit, as a singular unit together, than they were as separate individuals.
So I think a lot of people are going to compare Bookworm to Hunt for the Wilderpeople, and what are your thoughts on that, and how would you compare yourself to Taika Waititi?
God, I hope they compare it to Hunt for the Wilderpeople. That's like, that film was a massive success. So yeah, look, we knew that that people would say that there's comparison. I think they're really different films. I'm a fan of Taika. I've known Taika for a long, long time. I still do, run a sort of great film competition back home, and Taika won it the very first year. So he's watching his trajectory has been insane. He's right up there with PJ now. So yeah, and if there's if people want to draw a bow and put them in the same sort of graph, I'll be very, very stoked with that. But yeah, I think they're just two various films that both are set in the wilderness. There's an adult character and a child character, but yeah, totally different takes. Taika's he's just inherently, naturally a much more funnier guy than I am, and I find humor in different things than he does. So it's, I think it's just two very different worlds, but maybe have similar elements as well in so many films. But yeah, I'll be happy if people want to compare us to people.
Yeah, well, one thing I took away from Bookworm is that it's a PG film technically, but it still has like an edge to it.
Yeah, well, we can't escape it. Toby and I have very kind of warped sensibility. We both share very similar humour. We both grew up around the same sort of TV, cinema affair, literature. So there's a lot of sort of hot button points that we agree on. And Toby just writes beautifully, you know, his gift of language is incredible. He writes these beautiful monologues for characters. It's kind of like, you know, it's an adjacent to the real world. It's not like fully in the movie verse, but it's definitely left of center. And it's a fun zone to play around with because it's kind of heightened, exaggerated realism, so you can get away with a lot. You can kind of push the envelope a little bit. And so how do you do that in a PG movie? It's like, how do you have high stakes where you don't want any elements of violence, that you do want to keep it all family friendly? And so we kind of inserted the elements, the sensibilities of why we love things like why we made Come to Daddy. I feel like it feels like it's from the same people, it's from the same creative team. Because in a way, we've always thought about a loose trilogy, using Elijah and dealing with a lot of the similar themes and spread it across 3 films. And so Elijah's always said he's game for it. So now, yeah, Toby and I just have to come up with something that is going to suit it. But yeah, it's a long-term trilogy of sorts. He's used to trilogies though, Elijah. He's done a couple.
Well, so I don't know if it's because of the casting of Michael Smiley, but I think I kind of viewed the film somewhat as like a family-friendly version of Ben Wheatley's Sightseers.
I love Sightseers. Well, yeah, Michael is like, he is De Niro's to Ben Wheatley's Scorsese. So, yeah, no, the minute we get a chance to work with Smiley, we're always down for it. He just brings so much fun, dark menace to any role. It's interesting seeing him in sweet films where he plays totally against the type of when I first saw him on screen. And so, yeah, he was a joy to come down. He gets on so well with Elijah. The chemistry is really, really palpable. He's a gamer, man. He's just up for anything. I said, I really want to give you a really unusual look. We've come up with some weird Irish-Dutch combo, very shocking facial hair.
Yeah, that beard.
Yeah, it's a great beard. It's a very popular one in 70s TV shows like the Eden Line. He's kind of, I think, mining that look. He makes me laugh the minute I see him in the film. He's just great.
Okay, so that's the questions I have. So, what's next for you after Bookworm?
I've got. I've sort of been helping other people make their films as well, so I'm on producing a couple of movies for people that's really excited by. I can't wait for them to get out. We just had one, I was an EP on, one called She Loved Blossoms, which is a fantastic, wild, trippy Greek film. And then I've got a couple of ones that I want to do, and it's all about indie filmmaking is waiting out the long game of everything slotting into place, and it's kind of like spinning plates. You're just hoping that one's not going to fall over, so you're just rushing around, keeping everything spinning. So I just hopefully get one up before a plate hits the ground.
Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you.